חושך לגרש, בידינו אור ואש, כל אחד הוא אור קטן, וכולנו אור איתן. Light is returning, even though this is the darkest hour. No one can hold back the dawn. Let's keep it burning. Let's keep the light of hope alive. Make safe our journey through the storm. Banu choshech legaresh, beyadenu or va'esh, kol echad hu or katan, vekulanu or eitan. Surah choshech halashchot, surah mipnei ha'or. Surah choshech halashchot, surah mipnei ha'or. One planet is turning, circle on her path around the sun. Earth Mother is calling her children home. Light is returning, 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 light is
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to those of you here in person, to those of you watching online from home on this unusually warm for here, I think, almost New Year's Eve Shabbat. I invite you to, if you have your prayer book, to turn in it with me now to page 10 and join in welcoming each other, ourselves, expressing how good it is to be here together. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevat achim gam yachad, on page 10 in your Siddur. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. Again, welcome. It is so nice to be here in person and be able to be with those of you who could be here. It's such a pleasure for me getting to lead this service by myself, taking on a slightly more rabbinic role than usual, as we do miss Rabbi Aaron. But at this time, I welcome another to join me on the bima so that I don't feel quite so alone in the lighting of our candles. So Ben, I invite you to come up now to usher in this light of Shabbat.
As these Sabbath candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, tzivanu, hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you so much. And now, turning in our prayer book to pages 4 and 5, we recognize Shabbat and the holiness of that day with our Kiddush. And I invite you to join with me in the prayer on page 5 and rise if it is comfortable for you to do so in body or spirit. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher yetziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'chalta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen. Chaim. We turn now to page 8 in your prayer book and join together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other better. To love God is to work better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us, and to bring that vision to life. We continue, you may have a seat. We continue inviting in Shabbat with the prayer Yidid Nefesh, found on page 10. Heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms. I leap like a deer to stand in awe before you. Yidid Nefesh av harachaman, Yidid Nefesh av harachaman, Neshoch avdecha el ritzonecha, Neshoch avdecha, ya la 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 el ritzonecha, yarutz avdecha kemo hayam, gishtachave ya lai lai, ya lai 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 lai, el mul hadarecha. We continue our love letter of sorts to Shabbat, to the sweetness, to the rest that we have been craving all week, or at least that I have been craving all week, as we turn to Lecha Dodi, the text of which can be found on pages 20 and 21 in your prayer book, in your Siddur. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmianu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet ve'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki mechor haberacha, berosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kvod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. We rise and face the entrance. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emuneh am yalala, b'nei Shabbat, nekavela, lecha dodi lichrat kala, yalala, b'nei Shabbat, nekavela. And as we have greeted Shabbat, we take this moment while still standing to greet those around us, wishing them a Shabbat Shalom. If you are home, you may want to turn to anyone you are with and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Text someone that you haven't spoken to in a little while and wish them a beautiful Friday night. And once you are completed with that, I invite you to also feel free to have a seat. And you can feel free to be seated at this time. We continue our greeting by greeting the ministering angels in Shalom Alechem, which is found on page 24 in your Siddur. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Porchem Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei HaMlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now, as we begin our transition into our next part of the service, I invite you to join with me on the Chatzi Kaddish, found on page 26. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'almad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'miyomechon, u'v'chayet echol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala, u'vizman karib, v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'alam ulal me'almaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaser, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, shemei dekodesha richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma, v'imru, amen. And now, turning to page 28, I invite you again to rise in body or spirit for our Baruch Hu, our call to prayer. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. On page 30, the English at the bottom of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Haravim. And on page 32, continuing on to the Shema on the following 2 pages. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, law and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivot Malchuto Le'olam Ha'ed. I invite you to be seated as we continue with the Ve'ahavta on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha Ayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'shokbecha u'v'kunecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'ten kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim, L'hiyot lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children, talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. And we continue singing about the exodus from Egypt on page 40 with our Mi Chamocha prayer, reminding us to the wonder of God being there for us in whatever way we conceptualize that. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. On page 43, give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. And continuing on page 44, the top of the page. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. At this point, we reach the central prayer, the Amidah, the standing prayer in our service. And I invite you at this time to rise and join in this prayer. We will begin with page 46 and continue on together through page 52. at which point I invite you to continue with whichever prayers are in your heart, whether they be inspired by the words on the page, from other things happening in your mind, in your life. And when you are completed with your prayers, when you feel it is time, you may be seated. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozeh U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Oholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato V'Shenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, U'Midom Elach, Melech Memit U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atal HaChayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yehalelucha Selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Israel, ve'imru amen. Uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, amen. At this point in our service, our minds turn to those in need of healing. As we turn together to page 253 in our Siddur, we prepare to pray the Misha Berach, in which we ask the source of blessing for our ancestors, to also be a source of blessing for those in need today. And we recognize the ways in which we can be that source of blessing, whether it be cooking food for those who are sick, giving someone a call who maybe might be feeling lonely, or even just keeping them in our hearts. And I invite you to do that at this time, to keep those names in your hearts, and if you are comfortable, to speak them aloud for those in need of healing in body or in spirit. I invite you to share those names as my gaze meets yours. And now together we join in singing this prayer of healing on page 253. Yisheberach avoteinu mekor haberacha ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu nekor haberacha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Time for the most uncomfortable job of subbing in for Rabbi Aaron. It's the sermon. As Jewish people, we love a good new year. We've got Rosh Hashanah, our big one, which takes place in, of course, the 7th month of the year. The first day in the first month of the year, Nisan, is also a new year, the New Year of Kings, corresponding to a sense of national identity with our new beginning as a freed people leaving Egypt. You might be familiar with the New Year for trees, Tu B'Shvat. It's the 15th day of the month of Shvat, where we might recognize a time of renewal in the earth and acknowledge our responsibility toward it. We even have a new year for animals, Rosh Hashanah LeBehemot, once a day to determine which of the domesticated animals were to be tithed, and now potentially a day of recognizing animals' rights for some Jewish people. We love to celebrate New Years. We love marking Jewish time with a sense of newness. We recognize the first of each month as a Rosh Chodesh, a head of the month, on the new moon, with all of its potential to appear to grow to fullness. But where does the secular New Year fall into this? For some Jewish people, the secular New Year is, at best, a redundancy, considering our many other New Years, and at worst, a dark example of how Christo-Roman assimilation has claimed contemporary life, something familiar with our recent Hanukkah celebrations. Regarding the latter, it goes back to the establishment of January 1st as the first day of the year, initially by Julius Caesar around 45 BCE, along with the introduction of a new Roman calendar. The month January was named for the Roman deity Janus, who ruled over gateways and doors with two heads, one looking forward and one looking backward. What better imagery for the end of one year and the beginning of another? Not too bad. These pagan celebrations, however, were eventually co-opted by Christianity when it became Rome's official religion in 380 CE. Initially, January 1st was assigned as the date of the festival of the circumcision, which makes sense, being 8 days after December 25th, which they were using to celebrate the birth of Jesus. By this time, though, while January 1st was important as that feast day, it was not considered New Year's Day by the Christian leadership, with the pagan associations remaining just too strong. Instead, they assigned March 25th, the Feast of the Annunciation, as the first day of the new year. January 1st, even more problematically, was then assigned as the Saint's Day of Pope Sylvester, a notoriously anti-Semitic figure from the time of Constantine. In fact, in Israel, January 1st is still often referred to as Sylvester. This secular New Year became further complicated for the Jewish people in 1577, when Pope Gregory VIII forced all the Jewish people of Rome to listen to a Catholic conversion sermon in Roman synagogues under penalty of death. The next New Year's Day, he legislated a new rule that they must pay for a house of conversion with the intent of converting them all to Christianity. 3 years later, again on New Year's Day, he ordered that all Roman Jewish sacred texts be seized, leading to a terrible time of violence toward the Jewish people. In 1582, Pope Gregory instituted the Gregorian calendar, re-establishing January 1st as the beginning of the year. However, continuing through the medieval period and beyond, January 1st was a day of increased violence and anti-Semitism, either because of its connection to Pope Sylvester, its Christian association with the circumcision of Jesus, Pope Gregory's actions on that day in prior years, or just its association with the political decline of Judaism and the rise of anti-Jewish sentiment. So, does this mean we shouldn't celebrate tomorrow night? Here's where I stand on this. Even recognizing that the history of this date may have anti-Jewish elements, we also recognize that a chance for a new beginning is very much welcome, and in fact, very much Jewish. Besides having 4 New Year dates in our own Jewish calendar, we acknowledge new beginnings every week with our most sacred of holidays, Shabbat, celebrating the creation of the world every 7 days for our whole year. We celebrate times of transition, too, over and over in our liturgy. We separate from our chagim, our holidays, our Shabbatot, and the rest of time with Havdalah, the ritual of separation. We acknowledge life transitions with B'nai Mitzvah. We acknowledge important new experiences and mark time with our prayer of Shehechianu. Thank you, God, for keeping us alive, for sustaining us, and for bringing us to this very moment. And this very moment, too, can be a sacred transition, a holy newness. There's a story you've likely heard, but which comes to mind for me at this moment, as it does so often. Rabbi Simcha Bunim of Prizucha was said to have said, "Everyone must have 2 pockets," and I do. In the right pocket are to be the words, "For my sake was the world created," and in the left, "I am but dust and ashes." We can and must hold these paradoxes in each hand. It's not so much a matter of choosing which slip to be true at any moment, but to recognize that unless they are both true, we're missing the whole story. We can hold the history of this date in our minds while also recognizing this as a chance to use this time as yet another moment of transition. And what will be on the other side of this particular door? As we do not have 2 heads, one facing forward and one backward, we don't know what awaits us. And at this time of endings and beginnings, we're faced with a fear of the unknown. But we are armed with the determination to make things better. We can make our resolutions for the new secular year, but we can also remake resolutions every day, grateful for the opportunity to have been brought to that very moment. We have the chance again and again to make changes toward a better life and a better world. And whatever the unknown ahead brings, we know that we do not face it alone. We enter each liminal space, sheltered in a sukkah of peace, surrounded by holy community. With that in mind, I wish you a new year, a new Shabbat, a new moment, and new chances to face all that is ahead. And I invite you to turn in your prayer book to one of the best moments of liminal space in our liturgy, the aforementioned Chatzi Kaddish on page 26, with the alternate poetic reading on page 27. This reading, a poem by Leah Goldberg, speaks to this very opportunity to treat each moment as a time of renewal, as each morning and night you renew our days. With music being a language I find so meaningful in expressing truth and prayer, I invite you to gauge with this text with me in a setting of the English and the first line of each paragraph of the Hebrew by Cantor and dear professor of mine, Cantor Benji Ellen Schiller. Lamdeni Elohai, Barech v'hit palel, Lamed et siftotai, Baracha v'shir Hallel. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew our days. Lest my day be as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Lamdeni Elohai, Barech v'hit palel. a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Lamdeni Elohai, Barech v'hit paleh, Lamed et siftotai, Bracha v'shir halel, Lamdeni Elohai, Barech v'hit palel, Lamed et siftotai, Bracha v'shir halel. May your many new moments be each sweeter than the one before. Shabbat Shalom. And now we turn towards the back of our Siddur to page 282 for the Aleinu. And I invite you to rise. That's what I thought. Oh, there it is. The other most stressful part. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. We now turn to the part of our service in which we consider those who we have lost, both those who we have lost in recent days and those who we are remembering on this day as their yahrzeit. I invite you to turn in your prayer books to page 294 and to join with me as we recognize the following names.
This Shabbat, we mark the yahrzeit of the commemoration.
We mourn the death of George Paddock, who was laid to rest in recent days, and we mark the yahrzeits of Abraham Berlin, Lillian Hartman Brownstein, Nan Curson, Ethel Hillman Dryben, Abe Edelman, Charles Friedman, Meyer B. Gefsky, Molly Goldberg, Ernest Hommel, Mark J. Julian, Etta Kaplan, Thelma Kleben, Jacob Lerner, Jack L. Leaf, Max Mahler, Ruth Miller, Ruth Oswald, Louis Rosen, Samuel Roth, Milton David Schwartz, Ann Snyder, Rabbi Richard J. Sobel, Maxine Soffer, Jacob R. Soltz, Lawrence Tachna, Matthew Teplitz, Selim Terzi, Ida S. Tobias, Stanley Weiner, and Ann Weiser. If there are other names of those you are holding in your heart, or if I have inadvertently mispronounced the name of a loved one, I invite you to share those names with us at this time when my gaze reaches yours. And now, rising if it is your custom, we join together with the prayer on page 294, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach heruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv, ve'imru Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam Ulalmei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudsha Barichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran Ve'alma V'imru Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. Thank you so much to all of you who are here in person, for those of you who are watching with us online, celebrating Shabbat wherever you may be. Thank you so much to Sarah and Leslie and Ben for helping with this service. I absolutely could not have done it without your help. And I invite anyone who is available and interested to join us for Torah study tomorrow morning at 9. It should be a fun time. I will be leading it with my dad. So that should be a nice time. I invite you to join. Feel free to ask me any questions after the service. And with that, I invite us to join in, as is my custom, my mom's favorite closing song. Hi, Mom. Adon Olam, which can be found on page 321. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hove Ve'hu Yeh B'tif'ara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni ruchi le'eti shan ve'ayira ve'im ruchi kiviati Adonai li velo ira. Shabbat Shalom, and may this Shabbat, this week, this year, and this life be full of so much sweetness and so many chances for new beginnings. Shabbat Shalom.